kind of the concept here today about what we're going to talk about with it, which is ListTrac. This is a product brought to us from the brand. So of course it's found in my CB desk. So we're going to go ahead and jump into desk. And just like anything else, the dashboard's going to look differently than mine. You can rearrange your tiles however you want. You can search for these with Find an App. You can search for them up here in the search bar. But ultimately you want to find the tile for ListTrac. Now, this is much like what ListHub does for us. If you've been around for a little bit, you'll remember that we used to talk about both ListHub and ListTrac because one had Zillow, one didn't have Zillow. It was a little bit confusing. Long story short, we now have ListTrac that does report Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com. So it's a great place to go for a one-stop shop. We parallel still run ListHub. Sometimes it's better to have double syndication. It won't duplicate your listings in the syndication across the online portals, but it's good to have both just because that way you can hit every single possible syndication out there. Agents can still set up seller reports in ListHub if they choose to, or of course, we now know that they have ListTrac. A lot of times it's personal preference. If somebody wanted to ask my advice on what I would recommend ListTrac. The branding is up to date with all the new brand standards. It's ran by the brand, so anytime there is a change, it's automatically done for us. Again, both products are very similar. A lot of agents are comfortable with ListHub. It's still there. They can still use it if they want to, but ListTrac definitely is the newer option. The branding on it can be a little bit fresher looking and more updated. So again, if it was to ask my opinion, I would say ListTrac, but again, you can't go wrong with either product. So we are going to go ahead and jump into ListTrac. Again, click the tile. I already have it up so that it would load quicker. If you're an ASC or RSC on the call and your security levels in Dash have more than one office included, you're going to have the opportunity to see the information for any of the offices that you have Dash security levels. Up here in the upper left, upper right, you'll see a list. If you're an agent, it's going to be your office, of course. You're going to see your listings. If you're an ASC in a single office, you're going to see the accumulated data for all the listings in your office. If you have Dash security levels across offices, you will have the ability to toggle to more than one office, or you can do the whole office together. So this wouldn't be Michigan, Ohio, Florida, USVI. This would be all of Michigan because I am in my CB desk for my Michigan Dash ID. So again, if you're not seeing what you think you need to be seeing, if you're an ASC helping out in another office and you don't see that, just reach out. We can make sure that in Dash, we give you the access that you need. I'm going to stick with the 522 East Front Street office here. It just kind of makes the data a little bit smaller and easier to digest than the whole company. And so this is what the dashboard will look like. Of course, your agents are going to see their dashboard. ASCs, RSCs will see the dashboard for the levels that they have. It shows views, it shows inquiries, it gives you really some cool charting, letting you know how the views online are going for your listings. It gives you top performance of the properties by view. It gives you that really cool heat map of where the views are coming from. It talks about who has saved listings and versus shared listings. So if you're a consumer, you save it because you want to go back to it. If you're a consumer and you want your spouse to see it, so you share it. That's kind of the difference between those two. We also have top agents. And again, I'm in one office. So this is the agents ranked inside that office. And then this is kind of cool as well. It's your price range by popularity. So which price range is being viewed more often? In this particular case, it is the 3 million to 2 million range, which is a little crazy. It seems kind of high to be the most popular, but you'll see as you hover over them, this is the most popular views based on price point. So it's kind of just an interesting data point there. Now, again, this is just the dashboard. This is informational purposes only. If you think it's a really cool stat and you want to share it with the agents, feel free to screenshot it. There's a print export option here as well. You can share this data with your agents. Now, for agent purposes, if they want to communicate with their current sellers, they want to come over here to the left where it says listings. You as the ASC and RC actually have the ability to set this up for the agent. But again, I would recommend having that conversation with them first because it will go directly to their sellers. So you want to make sure that they feel good about the data before we set this up. And much like ListHub, you can set this up as a set it and forget it. You can set it up one time. You can set the frequency in which it goes, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, however you want to see it done. You can export a PDF of the report here as well. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. So I have one listing in here as an example. That's why it didn't load all the listings. But again, if you're staff, you're going to see all the listings for your office. You have a few options here. It'll tell you the status. This particular one is pending. You can see the analytics here, the seller report options, or if you want to see what that seller report looks like, you can do that here. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. This is actually what the seller would receive if the agent sets them up on this report. So you'll see it's kind of a fresh look. It has the new fonts that the brand has gone with. It pulls in the listing photos from the MLS feed, and it gives them the stats for the period. So since February 22nd through March 7th, this property has been viewed online 3,814 times. Pretty impressive, right? And then it'll further break it down by websites and cities, and then the consumer will actually be able to go view more stats. This is exactly what the consumer will see if the agents are sending this report. You'll see it's always branded to the agent based on the information coming from Dash, and then it's going to always be logoed per the agent's DBA. So if the consumer clicks on view more stats, give that a moment to load. And then this is actually what the consumer will see. It'll drill down into views if there was any inquiries, which are leads that would come through Leads Engine, if any consumers favorited it, or if any consumers shared it. And they also see all that same information per their listing that they would see holistically on the dashboard if you were logged into the office account. But again, the consumer actually will be able to see this data. Quite interestingly, of course, most of the views were here in Traverse City, but you'll see on the heat map a little bit of a pop in the Detroit area, a little bit of pop in Canada, and a little bit of a pop in Vegas. So it's kind of a cool information. Why this is also good is because your agent, if they're going on a listing appointment, they can pull down one of these reports from a previous listing, or maybe it's a coworker's listing. Maybe they're a little newer in the business, but they know, their coworker had a listing. Go to that agent, ask if you can have their ListTrac report. You'll be able to go to that kitchen table and let that potential seller know that this is how many views properties listed with Coldwell Banker get. This is where we know they're coming from. So I can take that knowledge as the agent and use that in my social media marketing to really pinpoint where those views are coming from, because we have historical data on other listings that are very similar to the possible new listing that you are going out to try to get the business from. So it can be a really good product, not only to current sellers to communicate with, but to communicate with possible new sellers, because everybody loves data, right? And if you can use that data to help market their property to sell faster and for more money, it's a win-win situation. So I'm going to go ahead and go back a screen, and bear with me because Zoom likes to get in my way. Here we go. Again, so we're back into ListTrac. So from that actual report, and I closed it by accidentally, relaunch it here with the blue button. That's going to go ahead and load again. You'll see down in the lower right corner, you can copy a link. So you can send that link to somebody. You can actually print the PDF. So if you would like to, if you're doing a Moxie Present CMA, maybe you download the PDF from ListTrac of a listing that's similar to the one that you're going out on the appointment for. You can upload that into Moxie Present, and it can be right in there as part of your listing presentation. You also have the opportunity to go straight into options from here. You can change the profile photo that comes over from Dash. You can change your information, but again, this all will feed over from Dash, so it should be accurate. So to set up the actual seller report, you want to do that from the green bar button. And this, it looks just like it would look in ListHub, same options, right? You want to put in the client's information, the client's email address. A lot of agents like to CC themselves, because the last thing you want is a phone call from your seller saying, hey, I got that great report. Can we talk about data point XYZ? And you don't have data point XYZ. If you CC yourself, you can put it in a folder in your email box, and you'll always have it right there readily available to go back to. You can change the stock welcome message. There is a stock verbiage in there, but you can update that. And then here is where you can change what the metrics are that you want. And again, it's all personal preference. What do you want that consumer to see? So you have options there. You also have your delivery options. Is it off? You don't want to send them the report? Do you want to send it weekly? Do you want to send it bi-weekly? Do you want to send it monthly? Or do you want to send the report on a standard date that you set? Now, depending on the property, we all know we're still in a little bit of an inventory crunch. A lot of popular properties go fast. They may get a lot of views right away, so you may want to send it weekly. If it's a vacant land, that's going to be a little bit of a tougher sell, probably a little bit less traffic, just given the uniqueness of the property. You may want to set them up on a monthly. So it just kind of depends on personal preference for the agent, but also that particular property and what they think the activity might actually be. If you click the analytics, it's going to launch you right back. Well, in theory, doesn't want to launch for me. It should launch you right back into that page that we had shown you that we got to when we clicked more. But I'm either being impatient or I've confused. There we go. Just being impatient. So we're going to go ahead and let that load, and you'll see it looks very similar to the view that the consumer has. But of course, there's options here for the actual agent when it's their listing that they can change some of these settings. So they can very much customize the information that will be going out in that report to their consumer. I do see I have a chat, so let me go ahead and open that up. If you have incorrect properties showing in the feeds, go ahead and shoot me an email. Probably a help desk ticket needs to be open, but let's take a look at that. We want to make sure that we feel good about the data coming across. So if you are in your office account and you are seeing listings that shouldn't be there, go ahead and shoot me an email and we'll dig through what that issue may be. Because again, the listings in ListTrac, the path should be MLS to account tech to dash to ListTrac. So that's the path these listings should take. So if you're seeing something you shouldn't be seeing, feel free to reach out and we will work that problem to make sure that we feel good about that information going out. So again, we started from desk, we launched into ListTrac. Again, if you are office or regional, you're going to see that when you're in your dashboard in the upper right corner. We'll give that a second to reload. You'll have the ability to toggle on, toggle off, depending on the offices that you have dash security settings for. You'll have all of the data on the dashboard here. And then to get into the listings, you go over to the left in listings. And again, your agents are going to see their listings. And you as staff will see the listings that you have attached to the offices in which you have dash security. And keep in mind, if you are interested in using some of this information for listing appointments, maybe you're creating a CMA, maybe you're going to an actual appointment, you can, if it's not your listing, you can ask a coworker if you can have their data. And you can come in here, you can render that PDF. It'll go in your downloads folder. You can then upload that into Moxie Present if that's the product you're using for your CMA. You can send it as an email attachment. You have the ability to copy the link. So you can send somebody the link. It'll pop right into this online report, which is good because then they can click the view more stats. Obviously, if it's a stagnant PDF, they don't have that opportunity. So lots of different ways to get data, not only to our current consumers, but to utilize it to try to get more listings. So what other questions do you guys have for me today on ListTrac? I'll go ahead and pause. Feel free to unmute or type them in the chat box. All right, well, I don't see anything coming in. So as always, we are going to ask you to please share this wonderful technology platform with the agents in your office. If you're not quite comfortable with it, but you want to do a lunch and learn or something, don't hesitate to reach out. Either myself or somebody else can go ahead and do a lunch and learn for your agents. But again, we just want to talk about the products that we have available to them so that they are aware of what they have with their association with Coldwell Banker Schmidt. Well, thanks so much for your time today, guys. As always, the recording will go up in our BlueSync playlist on Schmidt Video Classroom. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye now.